Greetings and salutations, this is Hugh Jarsz, the biggest YouTuber ever! And you might be able to tell from my voice, especially if you watched the Wheel of Dirt last night with Culture Cats. I keep wanting to call him Conspiracy Cats. I went to a barbecue last night, and I must have had a good time because my voice is very deep today. Today, this is a bit of an impromptu stream to some extent. Yesterday, 3 days ago, I had a live stream with Flatzoid. It was my first ever opportunity to talk one-on-one with a flat earther, and I thought, oh, that'd be interesting. We'll just have a friendly chat and talk through a few things, see what he thinks about certain things, and that's what we did. But then yesterday morning, I noticed that he was live streaming, and he was doing a review of that conversation, which was interesting. According to his community page, he wasn't so much interested in the facts, but he was interested in the comments that he was getting. Yes, it seems a little lack of focus, put it that way. And I didn't know about that, and I haven't watched that video yet. I don't know if I will or not. We'll see how we go. But I was contacted by a few people saying, they're talking about the things that we discussed in that live stream. And we thought we'd throw together another live stream and just sort of look through the points that were discussed and sort of make sure that they're absolutely clear. Let's bring on some of the guests. There's two guests I have in the waiting room. There's Critical Think, there he is, coming to us from Eric DeBay country, and Planet Walk. Welcome, guys.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hey.
Thank you very much for joining me on this. We have apologies from Professor Phil Bell. He has some education duties to attend to as a professor. And I find it strange he does tutorials on a Sunday. Maybe students are a lot less lazy than they were when I was at university. And Wolfie, who apparently is on a plane right now, flying to Montreal. I might start with that, actually. Wolfie sent us a little video to sort of fulfill his obligations, I guess. I'll just share the screen, and I hate the way that this works in StreamYard. It's like 4 clicks to get there. All right, let's see how we go.
Hi, Hugh, and thanks for the invitation to be part of your review panel. Unfortunately, I'll be flying up to Montreal, Canada from Los Angeles, where I'm currently located. The only thing I'd really say to Flatzoid is that I've still got that compass experiment ready to present to him anytime he is willing to face me in a live debate. He asked me to do an experiment with a compass on board an aircraft. I did it on our aircraft flying to the US and also on a commercial aircraft flying back to Australia. And I did a little more today on the flight back to the US. But when I told him about it and showed him proof that I had actually conducted the experiment, he blocked me. So I'm not sure why he's afraid to face me in a live debate. Anyway, it could be due to the fact that he really struggles with mathematics, and I know that, and it would certainly exploit it during the debate. But that's the way things are. Have a good one.
And it's equally, there we go. Did you hear that? Did the sound come through on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, good. I tried to play it again. Yeah, so why Flatzoid blocked Wolfie, no one seems to know, especially when Wolfie went out of his way to answer the question that the Flatzoid asked. That seems rather rude, to be honest. Any thoughts on that? No. All right. Wolfie's not here to defend himself.
That's up to Flatzoid to answer about that one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you guys see the discussion with Flatzoid?
I saw parts of it. This, excuse me, the refraction thing was very interesting.
Yeah.
And the magnetic thing was also very interesting. Both equally confusing, although the refraction discussion was especially confusing. And I can talk about refraction if you want. And here's the refraction expert coming up.
I was just about to say.
So
also,
g'day.
Wally's trying to connect, but it looks like his devices aren't connected. So, so Wall, I don't know if you can hear me, but see if you can address that.
But the whole refraction discussion, oh my goodness me.
Well, that's where I want to start, actually. The live stream, we just had friendly banter. Flatzoid revealed that he was a spray painter, which is, takes a lot of technique and a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge. I really admire people who can do that because I can't do it. I'm utterly useless at spray painting, but I'm good at other things, like anyone else. And that doesn't mean you're an expert in physics and can prove Einstein wrong or whatever. So that's the thing that confused me about that. So Ruif saw it. So Planet Walk did, and Critical Think. Did you see the video live or not at all yet?
No.
All right. No, Ruif did see it. Ruif, what's your thoughts
on the refraction part?
Pretty
bad. Oh, I downloaded the transcript and did a search for a few keywords to see topics that I was interested in. All right. All the flat earthers have this idea that 7/6R just doesn't include refraction because they don't understand where it comes from. 7/6R is just a way of geometrically handling curvature of light, but doing it in a way where instead of doing geometry with the curved light and a curved earth, you do the geometry with a straight line of light and a curved earth with a slightly larger radius, and that geometry is the same. So it gives you the same distance to horizon, the same hidden amount, obviously. So all these flat earthers keep telling us that 7/6R doesn't incorporate refraction, and I'm like, clearly you don't understand it. As I said, it's just a geometric transformation to make the geometry a lot easier. So you can use a straight line tangent for the light rather than curved light. And that's it.
The other thing that Flatzoid kept going on about was he thinks you need Snell's law. And you can, in a density gradient, right, there's a different way of calculating refraction, but it can be approximated by using small increments of Snell's law. You can calculate an approximation of the light path, but there are other equations. When you're in a density gradient, you use different equations, and Snell's law doesn't even come into it. So the fact that you don't have a clear boundary of one medium to another doesn't stop the light refracting in a density gradient. And it's demonstrated by the experiments that many people have done, including myself, of the light in the fish tank. Now, it's just a density gradient, but the light still bends. That's refraction, light bending. Yep. No Snell's law required.
I have done calculations in the past where I use Snell's law for a density gradient, and it's something where, you got to, you do lose a bit of precision because of the, because it's one of the things where it's, I think it's something to do with calculus. It's you choose how often you need to, or how often you want to.
Ruth's stealing the show with his pussy.
That's correct. You can approximate it with Snell's law, and you just basically have as many discrete layers of atmosphere with different refractive indices. Like Critical Think, correct. The best way to do it is using calculus and Fermat's principle. You basically differentiate the path with respect to time, using the velocity and distance in one medium and the other one, and you get a path out of that. I would be a bit scared to obviously introduce any sort of calculus to Flatzoid, given his troubles with fairly basic geometry and mathematics. Yeah.
Which he admitted he wasn't very good at maths. I mean, 35 times 1,000 is not 3,500.
I saw that bit. Yeah.
But he corrected himself, so I'll give him credit for that. But that's the thing. If you're not going to be able to get basics like that right, why do you think everything else is correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Wally is here on audio.
Hey.
Can you hear us, Wally?
Oh, hello, Planewalk, by the way. I've never actually spoken to Planewalk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well,
we've texted.
I'd actually like
to spoken.
Yeah, I'd like to have a conversation. I think Were you the person on the live stream with Ranty when he Ranty and Cats?
Yep.
Yeah. So you understand to an extent ray tracing, right?
Yeah.
Or ray
I've
casting.
written a ray tracer. Yeah. I use an old school ray tracer called PovRay actually. But then about a year or two ago, a guy called Science It Out wrote a really good ray tracer, which does handle the Fermat's principle of. Oh, sorry, no. He does actually use Snell's law, but he does use Snell's law in his ray tracer, and it gives you a really fast, excellent render. Yeah, Science It Out on Discord and on YouTube. Very smart.
Because I'd like to try and just grasp the concept of ray tracing and ray casting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I've got to duck out for 2 minutes, so give me a sec.
Oh, that's all right. We've lost Wally again.
I just wanted to ask if anybody understood Flatzoid's argument about refraction is not refraction, because I couldn't understand what he's on about.
That was a theme for the entire thing. I just let him talk, to be honest. I just wanted him to say what he thought so that we knew what he thought. And it just came across to me as just utter nonsense and word salad. And I wasn't there for a fight. I was just there for a chat. So I wasn't going to pick him up on it. I just sort of moved on to the next topic, I think.
But he's obviously got something stuck in his head, and sort of like, interesting. It would be interesting to try and tease it out because it's often very difficult to understand what's in somebody's brain, and the way that Flatzoid think is totally foreign to the way that we might think, and it requires a lot of discussion and asking questions to try to tease it out exactly what he means, because it was very confusing.
Well, that's precisely. Yes, that was precisely why I had the stream at all. Is I wanted to see, because in the debates and things you see, they're just throwing things at each other. I wanted Flatzoid to explain what he thought fairly clearly, at least as far as he can, and see what the result was. So we can hear the full argument rather than just the things he's throwing to win an argument. You know what I mean? And I think we got that to some extent. And this stream, we can pick those apart somewhat because we know exactly what he's looking for. Wally, yes, that was coming up as your devices were not connected. Wally's trying to join, but we'll see how we go. So maybe your mic's not working or something. Have a look at that. All right. Might see if we can stall for a bit, because we're about to go on the Black Swan. And I think Ruhoof will have. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
We're about to go on the Black Swan. I'm about to play play the live stream that we had, starting from the Black Swan, because up to there it was just friendly banter, really. And we'll hear what Flatzoid has to say about that. So now I've got to do the damn sharing thing. Jeez, wish we could do this quicker. Click, 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 click. There we go. All right, now I'm sharing, and let's play. Run past this. So you've seen this before? Yeah, I'm going to play at 1.5 times speed, otherwise we'll be here all day. So we see that quite clearly, the horizon is behind the second platform, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
What about this?
Yeah, but that's just refraction.
So this isn't refraction, and this is?
No, there's refraction both times, but remember, the lower you are, and you've got limited angles, there's swells in the water, you literally got more things you have to account for, depends on the day. But you're literally showing it's not physical curve, it's moving due to effects. You remember Regitoric's blink test?
Whose blink test?
Regitoric.
Regitoric.
He made what they call the blink test.
Oh, the psychological one, yeah.
The one where he took the photo of the buildings and stuff, and then he...
Oh, rhetoric. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, and then he superimposed the other one where it's not showing curve at the same time. But he failed to notice that the one that's showing hectic refraction and has compression is actually showing the curve. So it's doing opposite of what your guys on the globe are supposed to say. Also, the Black Swan shows that you guys don't have a geometric horizon, you only have a optical horizon. That's about it. The Black Swan literally just takes the assertion that you guys have a set sphere. I mean, it's supposed to be physical blockage. It literally takes that and it shows it not to be physical. It literally shows it moves with the weather, and it's only optical.
But that looks like a crisp horizon to me there. And this was taken when refraction was minimal,
Doesn't matter.
whereas this was taken when it was maximum, as you can see by the bendy gratings.
And the blink test shows it opposite when it's hectic compression. Or I don't know. Can I share a picture? Let me just see.
You should be able to.
I just want to see if I still
Do I
got
have to
it.
stop sharing? I haven't done this before.
I just want to see if I still got it.
I'll remove my slides.
I hope I still have the picture. Oh man. Maybe I'll have to open it on YouTube quickly. That's good. It's one of my thumbnails. So I'm just going to show the thumbnail then.
You want to jump in there and just talk about what he said so far?
Yeah, this whole question of like a geometric horizon and it being optical, but those two terms are not mutually exclusive, right? When they use the term geometric horizon, they actually just mean the unrefracted horizon, like where it would be if we had no atmosphere. I don't care where the horizon would be if we had no atmosphere, because we have an atmosphere. When they try and contrast it, when they use those two terms, they say, you know, the geometric or the refracted, and we say, obviously it's refracted. And then they say, oh, so it's not geometric. And I'm like, well, yes, it is. We can do geometry on a refracted horizon. It's doable. It's like I said before, like a geometry with a curved light and curved earth is annoying, but we can do it. Or we can simplify it just with the 7/6R radius multiplier. Yeah, so refracted, I guess, is not the opposite of geometric. We can do geometry on a refracted horizon. The end.
So the other thing about that geometric versus refracted, the argument from the flat earth is, so it's refracted, therefore it's optical, therefore it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and
that's incorrect as well. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy. Like, as somebody said, well, if you look in the mirror, you don't exist because you see a reflected image. Well, it's not that the original image or horizon doesn't exist. It's that it's moved slightly because of the bending of light. I mean, and is slightly. I mean, it's still there. It's just you see it differently. I don't get why it's so complicated.
Yeah, it's a physical location, but the light that is reflected off that physical location is taking a curved path to your eye. Like, I don't understand why they think that makes it not physical or not geometric. So, yeah.
Well, because it suits them.
Yeah,
is the reason.
I often had this disagreement with Nathan Oakley, where and you know, Nathan Oakley kind of made fun of me for it because I said, you know, we don't see physical geometry. What we see is we see light. That, you know, we see light, and like the reason why I said this was because if you look at those platforms, we are not seeing the geometry of those platforms. What we are seeing is the light reflected off those platforms, and it is obviously being bent. Like, do you think those platforms, that what we see of them is their actual geometry? Of course not.
And there's ample evidence everywhere in the whole world that if light bends, you see it differently. I mean, really?
Yeah, there's a blink test with the two oil platforms, and you will see in that blink test that the platform at the rear changes relative position, like changes position relative to the other platform. So that's often a question I pose to flerfs is, you know, does light or can light change the relative position of something? And, you know, even then they still deny it, but that's, you know, that's a win because it clearly does. It's demonstrable.
Okay, so let's continue on. Hopefully he sorts himself out here.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Let me just quickly.
And you got to present again.
Picture. Got to go past the adverts. But but again, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
It's actually a nice chat with you, nice and chill. It's not you to do anything.
No. I just wanted to see what you thought about a lot of things, actually. And I'm just letting you talk and see what you say.
Yeah, that's how it is.
He
It's
sort
all
of
very
missed that
subtle.
point, I think.
Okay, there we go. Okay, let me try to share my screen quickly. Present, share screen.
We've got 51 watching, which isn't a bad turnout. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, and my side 51, so it's cool to see the things are going well.
There we go.
Nice.
We're in the street now.
Nice and cool. You can see it.
Let me make a point here. I invited Flatzoid onto my channel for this chat. There was no discussion of him live streaming on his channel at the same time. He didn't ask for that. If he'd asked, I would have said yes, but I think it's poor form that he just did it without asking. Anyway, that's a minor point.
So I should have asked before I started live streaming this on my channel.
Why would you live stream this on your channel? You were trying to get to 50,000. You don't want to go backwards.
I mean, you're trying to get to 2K, aren't you?
Sorry, say again?
You're trying to get to 2K, aren't you?
Well, eventually. Anyway, let's continue.
Written a horizon.
Well, what's your evidence of that's the horizon?
The black line. It's on the video. It's actually.
So where's the bottom of that?
Show you there. There we go.
The one on the left.
Exactly. So how can the horizon block it if the horizon's behind it?
I love that he said, I asked him, where's the bottom, the one on the left? And he just said, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that line that they call the horizon is the horizon. It's not a straight line across. I think the horizon is in between the oil rigs. Not that it changes any of their arguments. Like it's still, their argument is, if it's beyond the 1.22 times the square root of zero height, blah, 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 then that's the argument. So it is beyond 6 miles or whatever the closest one is at. So yeah, it's not a big point, but I don't think that's the horizon.
It is a completely useless point anyway, because due to refraction, and refraction is a thing, the horizon can change. Now, that's it. I mean, that's just a fact.
We observe it.
But flat earthers make a big deal out of this as if somehow the earth is not round anymore because the light refracts and the horizon is you see the horizon in a different place. I mean,
we've got a flat earther in Sydney here called Harry Baird, and he's not really active on YouTube anymore. But Harry Baird used to just take daily photos of the horizon, from his lounge room, referenced against North Head in Sydney. So it's like a cliff face, and he would keep track of where the horizon intersected North Head. And then he'd post some days, like one day in once a month, the horizon would just rise by quite a decent amount. And Wally actually made a video of that a couple of years ago. And, it's not as if the sea level itself rose by 50 to 100 meters. It's clearly the light coming from the horizon is bending more than it did the day before. So, yeah, I don't understand why flat earthers reject refraction. I think, I haven't watched Oakley for a while, but his main point was, his understanding of refraction is that it requires sphere-shaped air, right? He thinks it's because he thinks it is the sphere-shaped air. So a horizontal path of light will hit a less dense or a more dense layer because the atmosphere is curved. And that's just not how refraction works. Refraction is simply through a density gradient. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's purely a fact of a density gradient that causes refraction, nothing to do with sphere-shaped air or anything. So yeah.
All right, let's continue on. So what's blocking it then?
Easy. Water, swells, waves, limited angle.
That high on the?
Yeah.
It's not compressed because look at that crane. That's not compressed. It's distorted, but it's not compressed.
Yeah. But like I said, how do you have a horizon blocking it if the horizon's behind it?
Note that I ask him about something and he just talks about something else. He's not going to answer the question, is he? No reaction?
Typical flat earth.
Yeah. Well, it's assuming that's the horizon. I'm not quite sure of.
Definitely the horizon.
I couldn't tell. It's too hazy. Yeah. Now I know what I'm looking at.
We're going to change the hues now, so it actually shows it's actually changing the hues. Oh, I'm covering. Okay, there we go. There, see, it's changed the hues now. And that's
String News one says it must be Simon Dan because it has no legs. It's a running joke.
Yeah, that's my question to you. How does a horizon block something if the horizon is behind it?
Well, that's assuming that's the horizon, but that's a fairly good demonstration of that. I'd like to see the context of that. Is that one of your videos?
Yeah.
Can you drop the link to it in the into the chat, and we can have a look at that a bit later.
There we go.
Yeah,
This is from BML69. Same place, same height, different day.
So Professor Bell says that's because refraction can change over distance.
Great. So Professor Bell, then we know it is not physical Earth curve. It's optical. Moves with the weather now.
But even if it's optical, it's light coming from something. It's not light coming from nothing. It's not. You say optical as if it's an illusion rather than.
It is an illusion. Yeah.
Well, that implies there's nothing real behind it, which isn't the case. Obviously,
the water is real. The water is real.
Yeah.
And it's not physical curve that's blocking it, just like I showed you. The horizon, because on your guys' globe, it's the horizon that's the physical curve blocking.
So in other words, his argument is everything is real except the things that he doesn't like. Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. There's this whole treating sort of physical and optical as mutually exclusive, or any sort of those terms as mutually exclusive. They're just not.
Kentucky Slowhand asks you, Ruhif, why is Ruhif spelled roofie?
Oh, just a joke. I'm in a Discord at the moment called Cosmology Tartaria, and it's just a running joke. The Rohypnol roofie joke. So, yeah.
Stringy News 1 suggests that maybe there's a Hugh Jarsz blocking it, the horizon, I guess. Doesn't light bend around, Hugh Jarsz? That's correct. Yes, gravitational lensing.
Gravitational, yes.
All right, let's see what else we can get out of this.
Blocking the things. And if the horizon is behind it, it cannot block it.
So this is one thing I have a bugbear about. You get these clear pictures from space, and they say that's fake, or a fisheye lens to give you a curve, and yet you've got the straight edge here. That's obviously not being curved. And yet this muddy picture is not distorted at all.
Yeah, but we can have
I find that a bad argument.
We can have the ones on the bottom that doesn't have any distortion like that, and it still shows it behind. BML69 has shown at night. It's like that. That's what I'm saying. It changes with the weather, so it keeps moving.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing.
So it keeps changing. So it's not a physical blockage then. It's literally moving around. So it's optical.
The changing is optical, but it's still light coming off something.
Yeah, there's still physical oil rings, obviously.
So you're a little bit muddy in the sound. Yeah, that's the point Planner was making earlier. It's just because, and critical thing, just because the light's bent, it doesn't mean there wasn't a real thing there.
Yeah, it's just taking a curved path to your eye. That doesn't make the thing that it's bounced off non-physical. It's just, silly.
Anyway, I think this continues that way for a while. Let's just see if he's got. We'll give him a couple more minutes, and then we'll skip a couple of more seconds, and we'll skip ahead. You said something about refraction.
Do you know what terrestrial refraction is?
The ritual? Oh, yes.
Terrestrial refraction.
Oh, terrestrial. Sorry. Well, any refraction on Earth is terrestrial refraction.
Right. So that's what your globe claims over from a radius, correct? And it's supposed to be a refraction of light.
Yeah.
Now, why is your terrestrial refraction got nothing to do with refraction? There's no Snell's law in your refraction calculations for terrestrial refraction.
Yeah, I don't see how these things connected, but anyway.
The thing is, if you claim it to be refracted, you require the refracted index to be there. You literally need the law of refraction in the calculations. There's no law of refraction in your calculations for terrestrial refraction. So it's literally not refracting light around on your model. It's literally taking the geometric shape and flattening it out.
So I think this is a point that he kept making. I think he's done enough maths, and he's self-admitted that he's not very good at maths. He saw two formulas, the one for Snell's law and the one for refraction, and doesn't see any connection. So therefore, Snell's law doesn't apply to refraction, even though that's exactly what Snell's law is about, I thought.
No, he's also
for a
said,
particular point.
he also said there's no law of refraction in the equation. That's part I don't understand. It's just, I know they hate us saying this, but it's a misunderstanding on his part of how refraction works and how you calculate it. And using Fermat's principle, for example, I don't know, that's just describes how light travels. It doesn't, well, I think what he's thinking is that the law of refraction is Snell's law. And when you calculate path of light in a density gradient, you don't necessarily need to use Snell's law. And so that's why it says there's no law of refraction in the equation. No, there doesn't. It's because we use Fermat's principle or something else. You don't need Snell's law, but he's insisting that you have to have Snell's law because that's all he knows.
Yeah, you can use it, but you should use Fermat's principle. I tried to explain this to him on Discord after I heard his refraction talk about, 7/6R doesn't include the law of refraction, and I went through it, explained how it does take into account the density gradient, but he's not reachable. I think he's in this. He's purely adversarial rather than trying to understand. And I think that's the case with most flerfs. I'm going to duck out again for 2 minutes. Right. I have children. It's a Sunday morning, so I'll be back shortly.
Yes. But what you say is precisely my whole takeaway from the whole video, that he's not there to actually understand the things he's talking about. He's there to win the argument. And it was probably a little bit uncomfortable for him because I wasn't there for an argument. I was there for a discussion. So, am I right? I mean, I didn't really study Snell's law a lot. I remember doing it in second year physics, but it's about a point of refraction. It's not about over a distance, isn't it?
It's refraction at a boundary layer between two mediums, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a glass of water, right? You apply Snell's law there because it gets a bit complicated.
The medium's changing,
It works very, very well in those situations. And so you could almost call it an approximation for a special case, like a medium boundary. But light traveling through a medium of varying density behaves, you've got to use all the wave equations, and it gets very complicated to work out what the path of the light would be. But at a boundary, Snell's law is fantastic. Very simple, very easy to understand. And so the argument from some flat earthers is there's no boundary in the atmosphere, therefore you cannot apply Snell's law, therefore there can be no refraction. And the other argument that comes in there is that Snell's law requires an angle of incidence. If you beam a light at 90 degrees to the surface, then there's no refraction, right, according to Snell's law. So if you beam a light across a flat surface, they say that it cannot bend because it's always in the same density. But when you're talking about density gradient, this becomes false. This has been demonstrated physically with the laser in the fish tank experiment. You can beam a light horizontally through a flat fish tank and the light bends. So none of those arguments hold true in reality. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Well, when it comes to...
I just want to mention that Clive Wells had a point on this. You can easily derive Snell's law from Fermat's principle, and he's a mathematician. So, sorry, go, Planner.
Yeah. So when it comes to what I do, like I'll often use maths, but the main thing that I will do when I try to use maths is make sure that I understand what I'm saying, right? So if I am going to use, if I'm going to try and calculate refraction over a distance, I'm okay with using Snell's law there because I understand Snell's law. I'm okay with saying, yeah, I don't understand Fermat's principle. If I were to look into Fermat's principle, then yes, I might understand that and might start using that instead. But until then, I will use Snell's law. But I'm not going to deride someone for, like if someone, like let's say someone says, oh, I've calculated the refraction for this. I'm not going to say to them, well, did you use this, that, or the next thing? Because if they've gone ahead and done it, They've probably done better than what I can do. But the thing is, Flatzoid hasn't done any calculations himself.
Well, he did 35 times 1,000. But we'll see
What
that
was
later.
that? Was that converting meters into
Yes.
kilometers, was it?
Yes. I'm probably giving a spoiler alert there, so we'll get into that a bit later. Let's see if we can find... So we might skip past the refraction bit, I think.
I hope you saw... I hope you noticed what I did there, by the way.
I didn't.
Maybe the chat will notice what I did there.
Just one quick thing about the magnetic thing too, if I can, because I've only got 20 more minutes here. We might not get to it. Is that I flew over the magnetic South Pole. Right, there was some. I flew on
video
one of
on it too, I think.
Yeah, I flew on one of the Antarctic flights. There was a team on board from the Curtin University in WA, and they had a compass-like thing, and it was, but instead of being flat, they had it pointing in the vertical direction, and as you flew over the magnetic South Pole, the compass pointed straight down. So
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that too on Antarctic flights. It's always an interesting thing to do. But we'll get into that in a minute. I'll just take that into account.
There is no formula for refraction in your curve. That's the whole problem.
I read it out earlier.
No, that's not light refraction. I don't know how much.
How do you know it's not?
Because it's not Snell's law.
Snell's law isn't all of it.
Snell's law is light refraction. That's what Snell's law is.
Well, the angle of incidence at a point.
The light travel through a medium is Snell's law. The angle of incidence changes, but yeah, we're not.
I think we both stated our case there. So
yeah,
I need to get to cover a couple of things. Monkey in the Works has joined Jarsz as a member. Thank you for that. I think you were before. You might have just rejoined. So good on you. And it's saying I have a super chat, but I can't see it. Here we go. Nerd Alert, another member. Thank you, Nerd Alert. Snell's, you do have a member's free super chat if you want. By the way, Nerd Alert. Snell's law is a special case of Fermat's principle and only applies to a boundary between two media like glass and air. It cannot and isn't used for gradients, as in the gradient of temperature and density between you and the oil wells. Nuance is lost on first. So, okay, there we go. Second best Bob rejoined as a member too. Hey, second best Bob, thank you for that. Oh, Nerd Alert says he knows, but just 50 characters is all he had. He wanted to say more. So thank you very much for 10 euros, I think that is. Yeah, 10 euros. Thank you very much for that. Super chat. All right, let's move on to the next thing. This was explaining that, but you wanted to talk about Snell's law. What do you think this thing is?
Ooh, a compass.
Exactly. How do they work?
Magnetic.
Well, what does that mean?
It's going to show to the magnetic poles. If it
Right,
shows
so
north, then obviously go south. Yeah, it's just magnetic.
So Earth has a magnetic field, or?
Yeah, obviously. How else would it work?
And how does that work on flat Earth? How does South work? There's
no south and north pole. There's a north pole. South is just opposite to the north. And when you go into obviously there's a south pole on flat Earth as well. I mean, they call it the toroidal field. Usually you have to hold the compass down flat, and that's how they work. You can't hold a compass to a curved surface and expect it to work. Sorry, I got a super chat. Thank you, Neo the One, for 20 SEK. That's
this is when I realized he was
Thank you very much.
streaming on his channel.
Yeah.
SEK, what's that?
I have no
Swedish
idea.
krona.
Yeah, it's the first time I've got that, though, so I have no idea what it is. Thank you very much, Neo the One.
Yeah, it's a Swedish krona, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do the sex dance now.
Sorry?
Well, when you he didn't like that in Swedish krona, you got to do the sex dance. SEK.
Oh, I haven't got my camera on. How am I going to do this?
That's all right. Just do it in your dance on the inside.
Yeah, close your eyes and just imagine me doing it.
Anyway, with the magnetic field, so this is a map of
This is the point you were doing,
magnetic
CT.
declination all over the world. So these are all measurements. Oh, hang on. Clara Microraptor says you're not allowed a sex dance. This is Swede. Oh, Clara Microraptor is a Swede. So how did we take all these measurements if there is no South Pole? Because as you can see just below Australia there, that's where we measured a South magnetic pole.
I think this point was lost in
There's
it.
a north, there's always a south. Like I said, toroidal field.
But a pole can't be a toroid.
The toroidal field separates the north from the south. If you take a bar magnet, for instance, there's a toroidal field between them. Yeah, so every magnet has a toroidal field. So if you got a north, you got a south. If you got a south, you got a north. Positive and negative. I don't understand how it would not work on a flat Earth.
Well, that's what I'm asking, because you'd have a pole at the North Pole, but I think you're basically saying the South Pole is all the outside of the disk, for want of a better term. But this map says we measure that there is one pole, South Pole.
Yeah, pause for a sec.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't watch this bit on the show. Does he accept
think he
there
missed
is a
this point.
single South Pole?
He seemed to be doing that, and I was making the point. Well, on a flat Earth, why would you only have one single flat hole? Well, I was saying it's all the outside should be the South Pole, otherwise the compass wouldn't work.
Yeah, like if you are down the bottom of South America, there shouldn't your compass, when it points south, point like approximately
Southwest.
east or even west, or even west?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Opposite to north. The answer he gave was it always points opposite to north. So therefore, if you're in South America, as you said, it would be pointing like, down out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, and the point I was trying to get is that why would there ever be one particular south magnetic pole? Why would it be in any particular place if it's a disk with a ice wall around the outside?
Yeah.
And clearly there is, because we took the measurements and here they are. So I don't know what he was on about. I think he didn't understand the point, and I'm certain he didn't know the answers. That was, well, I hate to say a gotcha, but I was hoping to see what he'd say and he'd give a better answer, but he didn't. So
yeah.
We'll just play this for a little bit more, and then we might move on to the next point.
And one North Pole.
Yeah, but why would it be anywhere in particular on a flat Earth?
Well, I don't get why it wouldn't. I don't understand where this is going. I mean, you can have a south and north pole on a donut Earth if you wanted to. It doesn't matter where it's situated. If it's got the magnetic pole, it's going to have a toroidal field and give its opposite. That's
What I'm asking is, why did it choose that spot of all the ice wall, for want of a better term, to be the south magnetic pole?
Probably because it's the north is based in the center, and it needs to have the south in the south.
But wouldn't it be a toroidal field rather than one particular pole?
The toroidal field is separated. The toroidal field's in the middle usually. That's separated. That's why you're seeing all those different declinations. They're different strengths.
So what causes the magnetism?
I would not. No, I'm not a. I can't put it. I wouldn't know. Sorry to tell you that. I haven't looked into that.
That's all right. And that's where I do respect him for that. He said he doesn't know. Many flerfs don't do that. They just make up something, and he's done that too. But in this particular example, he knew he didn't know the answer, so he said he didn't know, and that's always an acceptable answer. So I can give him respect for that. Let's see if we can skip through to the next conversation.
And a super chat just came in.
Oh, we got a super chat. Oh, Dora. Oh, hello, Dora. Always love to see Dora. For some snacks, not for you, Hugh. Well, €6 would be a tiny thing for me. I eat massive snacks. For Artie and Bera, okay, I'll buy that today, actually. Good to see you more active on YT again. Going to catch some Z's myself. Zeds, I should say. Night all. Good night, Dora. Have a nice sleep. Thank you for that. Right. He took that joke quite well, so I appreciated that.
Remember, energy.
I'm living proof that.
Yeah.
I'm living proof that against entropy because I keep getting bigger. More of me keeps coming together.
Yeah, you're taking more energy in. Remember.
I have my own gravitational field too.
So if I stand next to you with a skateboard, I'll be attracted to you.
Yeah. I can, like a Jedi Knight, I can pick things off the floor. It's sometimes things that are closer to me anyway. Flat Earthers are mostly Masons. Waste itself. Because no one else knows anything about it.
But you'll be surprised to know that a lot of the Masons are actually.
Yeah.
What you're saying there is, so what you're saying there is that you're very attractive.
Yes, definitely. Well, I can attract other things at least. Now we got on the conversation about Masonry, because Freemasons, because flat earthers are always saying Freemasons are running the world and that sort of thing. But most of us don't know anything about the Freemasons. For some reason, they know a lot. So are they really the Freemasons? Who knows? That's probably not a science discussion, so we won't go into that. Unless you want to, of course. Let's see what he's talking about here.
So that's that's to be the reason why you see them at the same time. If they're all placed inside the firmament and it's just the light.
Oh, right. I was asking about the Gosh experiment. Let's see if I can find the beginning of that. If you've got a strong telescope or something, if it's just merely going a long way away.
Remember when I talk about the limited angle?
Right.
Things go further into.
I'll just
people written books about it.
So here's where I asked about the southern stars, basically, why that isn't proof of the globe and kills flat Earth. And I got some interesting responses, so have a listen to this. But you got to have an interest in it first.
Oh yeah.
I already have no interest in the Masons. So.
Yeah.
So, hang on, let me get this wording right. Let's go. So, if a child asks you to show them on a map where the sun goes at night, what exactly do you do or say?
On the map, no one's asking you to do that. But
Because it's clear the sun goes away.
Yeah.
It looks like it goes below the level of the ground and then in the west, and then suddenly it appears in the east the next morning. So how does it get from there round to there? It should be. It obviously doesn't go two ways. It goes one way, and you should be able to observe it if you've got a strong telescope or something. If it's just merely going a long way away.
Remember when I said talk about the limited angle? If things go further in the distance, the angle gets limited and it becomes too acute. So eventually, it's going to be occulted by the large angle, which would be the sea or mountains or grass or clouds or whatever in the way. It's always going to occult it when it goes too far away. And obviously, light also has a limit to what it can reach. I'm just quickly looking. I've got a demonstration I actually did.
But I guess that's the thing that confuses me because we can see the stars. So if the sun's moving away, but we can still see the stars, the sun must be moving away further than the stars. Is that what you're saying?
According to the flat Earth, the sun and the stars are both placed in the firmament. So
Yeah.
we're not even claiming the sun to be at that actual position. We claim it to be an apparent position, just like the stars. They're all apparent, not actual. That's why when you get it,
But even if they're apparent, they're still relative to each other.
yeah, to a degree. But I mean, look at sometimes you get two suns. We've had observations where you literally get two suns in the sky. Or this is why you get the people asking, okay, why do you see the Southern Cross in Australia, South Africa, and South America
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously not in Australia because the time zones. But
Well, in Western Australia.
Yeah, South America and South Africa, most of the time you'd see at the same time. It's just because of internal reflections. I mean, I think we've taken, internal reflections. You know how that works.
Yeah, I know what
Sorry,
you're
on
getting
the
at.
firmament.
That's what I haven't heard before, actually.
Is he?
Yes. Just before you go, Ruf, thank you, Second Best Bob, for your member for 17 months. He's on the other side of the globe. It's bedtime. So, all right, hopefully you'll catch up later. Sleep well. Go, mate.
Was he talking about like the stars being reflections off the firmament there? Is that?
He was saying they were in the firmament and they are not, they're all apparent. And I was making the point, well, even if they're apparent, it's like reflecting off something. So
yeah, it's bizarre. Like it's not the question of can we all see the stars at the same time is a little bit of a red herring kind of thing, because my south celestial pole is always just over there. It doesn't move ever, whether it's day or night. My south celestial pole is there. I can point at it all day and all night. The fact that we have that our south celestial pole points in a different direction on South America, Africa, and Australia, we don't need to do this at the three locations at the same time. It just never moves. So yeah, it's a bit of a red herring from the flerfs.
The other thing about the angle and this limited angle, whatever that is,
Gibberish.
there's some inference there that as the sun gets further away, it will, due to perspective, it will sink to the horizon. And to a certain extent, this is true, which makes it a little bit confusing. But the fact that flat earthers ignore is that how far away does the sun have to go for it to approach within, say, 1 degree of the horizon? And the answer is millions upon millions upon millions of kilometers. But they just totally ignore that. They don't do the calculation about how high in the sky the sun would be if it was just 12,000 miles away, for example.
Yeah.
So,
but we know where the sun is overhead. Like we know the GP of the sun at all times. So we know over the ground, whether it's flat or curved, we know over the ground how far away it is. So it's just a matter of, if they put a number on the height for the sun, we will tell them at what angle it should be. And they'll go, oh, no, there's fucking massive upward refraction and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's funny how refraction always works when it helps them. But yeah.
Yes.
CT, I know you have to go. There's Flatzoid had a demonstration that I'd like to get your thoughts on. It's just coming up, so I'll play that. Let's go through that, and then we'll have a chat about it while you're still here.
Yeah, so that could be the reason why you see them at the same time. If they're all placed inside the firmament, and it's just the light that's
He didn't really
literally
answer my question, but yeah.
reflecting through, then it does that. Can you see my screen?
I'll have to share you. Hang on. There you go.
Okay, I'm going to play it. This is a demonstration.
Hang on a sec. Is there any music?
It's quick.
Okay.
It's 1 minute and 39 seconds. This is just literally me showing the sun going away in the distance and how it appears to drop to the convergence zone and so-called set. The paint cans are obviously just going to give it to show mountains in the distance or oceans in the distance, as the angle gets more acute. So there we go. Because that's one thing I love doing on my channel is actual demonstrations. So this is why you would see a sunset.
No, he just moved it back.
Yeah, and look how it looks like it's dropped down. Now it looks like it's dropping down further again because it's going into the convergence. See, now it's going behind the paint cans. Yeah, no, I haven't. It's still exactly the same.
Yep, this is this is why I didn't argue.
Actually, yeah. I only have 2 points with that. Number one, it's getting smaller, right? And number two, we can describe this with geometry. Can Flatzoid describe that with geometry? Yeah, get smaller, geometry. The end.
I wonder if he knows the formula for perspective.
Yeah.
He'd probably say, do you take refraction into account? Snell's law, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's no... I don't know a flat earther who is willing to actually make a prediction. I saw a message in the chat a while ago from Charlie Welsh. It says, Hugh Jarsz, word has it Roo have exposed Gleam recently. That was a chat we had the other day where I showed an observation. I think it was Canagoo, where there's like 2.5 kilometers of a mountain missing. And I said, Gleam, can you make a prediction using the flat earth for how much of this mountain you can see? And he came back with, you should be able to see about 15% of it. And I was like, go through your process, like show me how you came to that result. And he actually brought in a calculator written by Andrew Thomas Young, who's a refraction expert at San Diego State University. The hilarious thing was he was using this calculator by Andrew Thomas Young, but that calculator was literally a curve calculator for a globe Earth. So that's what that comment was about in the chat. But yeah, the flerfs in general cannot use whatever knowledge they claim to have to make any sort of prediction for what you should see. So Flatzoid's here talking about limited angle and the sun moving closer to the horizon due to perspective. But if you push them, they will never be able to describe it with geometry or Rayleigh's criterion or whatever, right? They cannot use whatever knowledge they claim to have. They can't apply it to make any sort of prediction about reality.
And they really hate showing their work because almost always they've used the globe.
Yeah.
So I got to go in 1 minute. I'll just talk about that picture on the screen now. It seems like he's trying to say that light going behind the bucket or whatever it is there is sort of synonymous with the sun setting, which absolutely ridiculous because, of course, the bucket is not at the ground level. But anyway, that's...
Yes. That was his point. He was claiming the do it. So
the levels, of course, as something gets further away, it appears to go down. I mean, everybody knows that. But flerfs twist that, and they don't understand the geometry, and they then think that, anyway, as we mentioned before, it has to go too far away for it to set on the Earth, and it just cannot go that far. And it is true that as something gets further away, it seems to sink. But then you got to do the geometry. You got to predict where it is, as Roo was saying. And this little dinky experiment is not really to scale. And
and it's in its entirety as well. When you see the sun right on the horizon and it's not shrinking, it should be shrinking in its entirety to a point, which it doesn't do.
Well, they talk about perspective, but just ignore that the sun doesn't change in angular size.
Yeah. Because it doesn't suit it.
I got to go. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being with us, CT. Everyone's CT's channel link is in the description, so go subscribe to him if you haven't already. I presume most of you already have. He does some really good observations. He's also here in Brisbane with me on the other side of town. He does lots of observations in Moreton Bay and of ships going over the horizon, that kind of thing. So, and lots of calculations and lots of flerf busting. So, please check him out.
It might be a good idea for me to head out as well because my caffeine has ended and
it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, you're up with the penguins last night. That's right.
Yeah, and water finds its own level. The Earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour would throw everyone off.
And you're feeling it right now, yes.
Gravity, not real. It's just a theory.
I wonder if you can give us a quick rendition of the chemtrail song.
Oh,
just for our entertainment.
How does it? I'm trying to remember the chords. Almost had it. When the shop to get some pie, what I see up in the sky. Is it a plane or is it a bird or is it Nathan O'Clair having a turd? We got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, we got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, yeah. When the shop just the other day, I saw some old man, he was eating hay. It was Dell, he was out of his shed. He looked at me and this is what he said. Have you seen my friend Gav? We were having a beer, having a laugh. The men in white coats took him away. As I left, I thought I heard him say, chemtrails on Earth and chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, we got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, yeah. Shouldn't see chemtrails ever at all. Tired of screaming them off of my bathroom walls. Cause we got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, we got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, we got chemtrails on Earth, chemtrails on Venus, they come out of a plane. Out of my penis, yeah. They come out of my penis, yeah. They come out of my penis, yeah. They come out of my penis, yeah. Scream on my bathroom walls.
Well done.
Brilliant.
Your voice is just wonderful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit scratchy there, but I did my best.
Than Flatzoid.
Is that an original?
Yeah.
Kind of walk original?
That's actually a Cat's original.
Cat's original. All right.
Yeah.
I suspected.
I think Planet Walk does it better.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like the original, I think. Maybe.
You do it well.
Anyway, thank you for curing me of my temporary flerfism.
Yes, you perk right up, I was going to say. You don't need caffeine now. Do you want to get caffeine and come back? Or I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but
I don't have any more caffeine, unfortunately.
You have to go to the shop. Oh.
All right. We'll go for another half an hour or so. And
yep.
Yeah.
Sleep is probably a good option. Well, anyway, take care and hope the rest of the stream goes well.
Thank you very much. And
Lovely
your
to
channel
meet
is
you,
also
Planet
in the description for anyone who wants to subscribe to Planet Walk, help him get to 50K if you haven't done so already. And that keyboard's going to have a corgi on it fairly soon. I'm sending him a call.
Yeah.
All right,
And if you're not subscribed to Hugh Jarsz, make sure you subscribe to him. He's the biggest YouTuber on earth.
That's right. Well, sometimes not on Earth. Depends how strong the gravity is at the time.
All right.
All right, then, mate. Have a good sleep.
All right. See ya.
We'll do.
That's it. All right,
Let's
back to Flatzoid.
hassle Flatzoid, see if he wants to come in.
Yeah, it's getting late for him right now. I think it is, actually, because he's just been on with Mrs. Sensible. I don't know. We'll see. Let's watch what he says about this a little bit further. I think he's said the main thing, and we've addressed it. So, yeah, let's see.
Same elevation. Still exactly the same elevation. I haven't dropped it down at all. This is all just got to do with perspective. It's got to do with the angle of incidence.
He said he hasn't dropped it down at all, but how can we tell from that picture? If he gave us an orthogonal, I'd have a much better confidence that he's actually done it right, but I can't tell from that picture.
There seems to be this preference for modeling things in reality rather than modeling things mathematically, and I think that's wrong. I think mathematically modeling things is infinitely more accurate than modeling things in reality. Like, you get guys trying to make a curved Earth with mountains made out of little paper 2 or 3 centimeters high. The margin for error in that sort of stuff is enormous. Like, if your mountain is off by 1 millimeter, that might be the difference between it appearing higher than the one behind or whatever. Modeling things mathematically is by far more accurate.
Well, mathematics represents reality.
Yes.
You don't really need to do it in reality if you've done it mathematically, because it's the only place you get proofs from. Especially if flat earthers are always on about proofs, that's masses where you find it.
Yep.
And no one's going to dispute that.
I think all he's doing here is doing simple right angle triangle trigonometry, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Yeah. Which we all agree with, but we're saying that's not what applies to reality. So,
and I also think he's done his lines wrong here, because you look at this gap here between this sort of orange line and between there and what's apparently the bucket's in the way, so I can't tell for sure, but that does look at a different distance.
Yeah,
I guess
camera's went a little
there.
bit left. Yeah,
I'm not sure he got the lines right.
Yeah, because he didn't pull it back in a straight line from the camera, so he's pulled it back at a bit of an angle. That's whatever. Yeah.
And an orthogonal view of them doing it at the same time would have taken all that doubt away. Flerfs never think through their experiments before they do them to see if they're going to be valid experiments.
Yeah, but like I said to this at the start, I mean, his light shrinks and it moves away in a trigonometrical relationship, not like a 60 nautical miles per degree relationship. Yeah. He promised me, Flatzoid promised me several months ago that he would do a worked example of celestial navigation. And he has yet to do it.
No flerf has.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
well, the only ones that have use the globe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But I would love for someone, like, the debate I had with refracted curvature 6 months ago. The topic was do a worked example of celestial navigation, each given your own set of elevation angles to stars. The back chat behind setting that up, that debate up, the lengths that he had to go to avoid committing to that topic. So the topic of actually giving a worked example of celestial navigation, he danced around that like you wouldn't believe in the chat to arrange that debate. And obviously because he knows that it can't be done. So, yeah.
Well, he wants it to be possible, and he just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah. But I kept pushing him in the chat saying, do you agree, like specifically, do you agree to this topic for this debate? Show a worked example of celestial navigation. And he refused to just say that's the debate. So, yeah. Says everything to me, yeah.
Well, yes. I think he's probably, from what I gathered from his community page, he's probably thinking the same as me from this, because I wasn't trying to argue with him. I was just wanting to see what he said. So he probably thinks I don't understand a whole lot of things, but I wasn't trying to argue with him. I was just trying to ask clarifying questions and things. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
So I'm going to lift the camera up so you can see it's still at exactly the same elevation, just on another paint can. There we go. So you see it's on a paint can there, another paint can, another paint can. Still exactly the same elevation. It's just occulted by the angle being limited from the observer.
I can't tell from that picture if
when the sun goes away. These things are occulting it because the angle gets too limited.
And this is, he should have painted a line on the wall. He should have had some sort of mechanical way of moving it so that it would definitely be at the same height. There's so many things wrong with this experiment that he could have just done to make it short up and be more useful, you know?
Yeah, his camera is clearly below the paint cans, right? The camera's on the floor. Yeah, so it's the angle up to the paint cans, it's a positive elevation angle. You know, I've got footage of the sun below horizontal, like at sunrise and sunset. It's not explainable on a flat Earth.
Yeah. But isn't that just effectively demonstrating that the sun gets blocked by the Earth when the sun sets?
Yeah.
Because the paint can is the Earth.
Due to perspective, it's not on a curved surface. It's literally on a flat surface.
But the sun still sets at sea.
Yeah. Angle gets limited.
Holy
Remember,
shit, Flatzoid.
more cute the angle. Let's say a 10 centimeter wave is going to have a larger angle towards the observer, let's say 1,000 kilometers away compared to the sun. It's going to have a larger angular size in compared to the sun. If I can put in limiting angle size. You know, when something moves away, how angles change. Let's take a car, for instance. If you're standing, just imagine now you've got a line on the roof of the car and the car is driving away. You can literally see that angle of the line getting smaller and smaller from your vantage point. It's shrinking closer to the ground as it's driving away. So if the sun is further away and you've got now a little rock in front of you, or a little wave, or a little water, doesn't matter, mountain or tree, it's going to occult it because it's going to be in the way of your angle to the sun. All just perspective.
I know what he was getting at here. Sorry, here you go.
Yeah, which we can we could describe that with geometry. Why can't he show us how this limited angle bullshit, occults things, or he cannot. He just cannot. So it's just all word salad bullshit. He does not understand what he claims to know because he can't apply it. The end. I
think those words demonstrated that he doesn't understand that. Daryl M, one of my members, welcome to you and welcome to all my members, says, I have never seen a paint can on the horizon, which is a good point.
Yeah, but like I said, his camera is on the floor, right? So he's looking up to a paint can, which has a positive elevation angle, and the horizon in reality is below eye level. It's just a terrible demonstration.
Yeah, well, I showed him that later on, actually. We'll get to that. But yeah, there's so many things wrong with that experiment, if you call it an experiment. Demonstration, I guess, might be a better term. So much accuracy he didn't make sure was there. He didn't provide ways of making it indisputable, like giving an orthogonal view at the same time. There's just, and yet he draws the conclusion Earth-am flat as a result. So it's the whole of science is rejected because he moves some paint cans around with a torch.
So, same as Brian's logic moving his bloody tin of beans and whatever else he had.
He's full of beans, isn't he?
Yeah.
The baked beans, of course, the ones that create all the smells. Let's see if we can spin through a bit. We'll just let him talk a little bit more, and then we'll see what the next bit is. Okay. One thing I wanted to make sure I did. That, anyone want to see the cute corgi? So more of a. My boy Artie turned 9 last week, so he's. I wanted to make sure he was in there.
I'm down to 3 dogs now. We had one of our dogs die a few weeks ago. She was 16.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah. Oh, 16, you said. That's a good life.
16 years old. Yeah. Now we've got 3 dogs and a cat. So.
Well, definitely a cat. We saw that.
Yes.
Anyway, what's the next thing I had on my list? So that's one thing I wanted to show you. Let's see if I get it up. Too many things that later.
At Gary Wybanger in the chat.
Sorry. All right. Wybanger bot. Share that. You know what these are?
Ah, Starlink.
Ah, good.
Oh yeah,
I
Professor
thought you
Bell
were just going to say they're lights in the sky.
there are lights in the sky. Starlink.
Well, they
Balloons.
are, technically. They're reflecting
Yeah.
light, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which
you
showing
see
that
them,
the sun is not below Earth's surface because it's still getting light reflecting onto it.
well, it depends how high they are, of course.
Remember,
But they're,
if the sun is on the other side of the Earth, it's not supposed to light up the things on the other side. A lot of the time, it's literally on the total opposite side getting lit up, which would be impossible.
I'll have to think through that sentence. But the point I was going to make is that you can see them traveling 10 times faster than any fighter jet, if you know what height they're at, I guess. And they don't have any aerodynamic flight and no fuel. So what keeps them up there? Just on the point that Flatzoid made, he's correct. You don't see satellites at midnight generally, unless you're at high latitudes, because they're in the shadow of the Earth. In fact, you can watch, I've done it myself, I've watched the ISS in light, then move into the shadow overhead, because it was that late in the evening that the shadow came into play. Obviously, that's not the case in this picture.
One of the coolest observations I've seen was actually, I think it was Wally's idea, but then Wolfie executed it, was watching during the equinox the geostationary satellites go behind Earth's shadow. That was so cool. And you could see it leading into equinox like a week or two before, that only the top half or top little bit of the Earth was making a shadow. So they would blink in and out fairly quickly. And then that time would increase as the as the equinox approached and it was going through the equator. And then as it got away from the equinox, the time got shorter again. Like it was the coolest observation. Yeah, nice one, Wally.
Yes, Wally came up with a good idea there. I don't think anyone else has done that. I don't often respond to Gary Wybenga. He says all stars rotate around Polaris, not in the southern hemisphere, which Ruth and
Gary.
I and Flatzoid and not Flatzoid, Planet Walk, I meant to say, and Critical Think and Wally and Wolfie, we're all there and we can see it. I can go outside. I saw it last night, saw the South Celestial Pole. So you're wrong, demonstrably in reality.
I got a new telescope mount the other day as well. So I'm keen to get that out and doing some fun stuff. Yeah,
I've been, every time I they're magical things, telescopes. Every time I get to take mine out, clouds come over. It's like they create the weather.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's so the point about Starlink was that he was going to go on to Satelloon. So let's listen to that conversation.
You know, they have shown these get launched with balloons as well.
So?
Well,
just because something can happen doesn't mean that that's exactly what happened in this particular case.
They actually have video footage. Have you ever seen Satelloons?
Yes, Satelloons exist, but that saying Satelloons exist and therefore satellites don't is like saying cars exist, therefore horses don't.
The problem is, though, your satellites that you're claiming to be in a place that violates natural law. That's the problem.
Come on.
Natural law.
Second law of thermodynamics.
In what way?
Entropy. Remember, it's claimed to be in an open system. It's claimed to be in a surrounding system where we are in an open system adjacent to it. So
I thought we're under a dome.
Sorry?
Well, you said open system, but we're under a dome, aren't we?
On a flat Earth, but you are literally stating space, and space is literally for a spherical Earth. So that's your burden.
Well, I don't think he really explained why the second law of thermodynamics makes satellites impossible there. Do you?
Just parroting Oakley. The funny thing about the whole gas pressure requires a container, that's the claim that's in dispute, right? Their claim is gas pressure requires a container, and their justification is either that's what the dictionary says or that's what the textbook says, or their justification is if there was no barrier, then the air would escape and we'd be dead, right? What their justification is the air would escape and equalize, right? There would be equal pressure everywhere because gas moves in all directions, blah, blah, blah. That demonstrably does not happen with our atmosphere. It doesn't equalize. We have a stable pressure gradient, right? So our response to the gas pressure requires a container is no, it doesn't. We have a pressure gradient and that pressure gradient keeps decreasing as you go up. Eventually, there's no reason why it won't get to effectively zero or close enough to zero that we would call it a vacuum. And then their response to that is, does gas pressure gradient require gas pressure? And I'm like, yes. Well, gas pressure requires a container. Like they've literally just restated their assertion that we are rebutting.
Without providing any evidence.
Bad logic. Yeah, it's literally circular reasoning. So
you're breaking up, mate.
Am I? No. My
I
bad.
don't know if it's your fault or not, but
Could be. My internet's been a bit shaky the last few days. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
really
they
hearing
literally
you at
just
all.
go. All right. 1 sec.
Very
Is
garbled.
that any better?
No, not really.
All right. 1
I
sec.
heard. I could understand it, but okay.
1 sec.
Hang on. You sound a bit better now. And he's gone. Is he going to come back? I'm all alone. I've got people in the chat. And okay, he's come back, I think. How's that? I heard is and better.
Oh, crap. All right.
Oh, crap, I heard.
Yeah. It could be the internet here. I don't know.
Daryl M saying he can hear you okay, so maybe it's me. My headphones aren't working.
Okay. Something fun here. Okay, cool. Yeah, in the chat. Must be
you.
you.
My headphones. I've only got one in. Let me put in the other one, and that way I'll have twice the chance of hearing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound all right. All right, cool.
Cool. Yeah.
It might be my headphone then.
Yeah.
Let's play more of this. I asked you, do you believe in space? But I guess you're saying you don't.
I believe space is real, but not as a vacuum.
So
what the fuck?
When you say space is real, how far does it go then? How far up can we go?
That I would not know. I would know it's quite far because we can see quite far, but it's definitely not the millions and millions of miles you guys claim it to be.
Why? When you say it's definitely not that, what's the evidence that tells you it's definitely not that?
Let's take the moon, for instance. The Tycho crater. Look at the angular size. You're not supposed to see it because it's actually too small to see angular size, and yet we can see it. It's supposed to be 253,000 miles away. That's the same as seeing an ant 100 miles or 100 meters away with your bare eyes. You
actually can't. I didn't copy it over. There's a meme that actually explains this quite well. There's a lot of ejecta from Tycho crater, so people believe they can see it, but the crater itself is below the resolution of your eye. It's only just below it, but you can see where Tycho is because of the ejecta, which covers a fair, couple of degrees, which you can see easily. And he's mistaking that for Tycho rather than the actual crater. He's not seeing the crater itself.
Oh, it's the same as people saying you can't make out the ISS with your P900. Of course you can. Do the math. Flat earthers, do the math, and you'll realize.
That's when they run for the hills.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Let's just want to sort of skip through. Yeah. Where's when I did? Oh, here we go. That's a fair on. Let's see what he's saying about here.
All right.
I mean, a hedge range, you're not even supposed to see 50 centimeters away from you.
So I did a Google search, and the angular resolution is about 1 arc minute. So you should be able to see it.
Just under 1 arc minute. It's 0.013. 1 arc minute is 0.22.
No, it's 0.02.
Yeah, 0.02. And that's 0.013. So it's under 1 arc minute. So you're not supposed to see it.
You might not be able to resolve it clearly, but you can still see that it exists.
There's no resolve to be able to see with your eyes. So that literally debunks the assertion that it's 253,000.
No, I just explain why it doesn't.
Explain why it doesn't?
Yeah, just because it's below your resolution, your eyes, especially, and in this case, it's only just below, it doesn't mean you can't see it. It just means you can't resolve it.
You do know what resolve means.
Yes, that's the point I'm making.
If you cannot resolve it, you cannot see it.
No, it means you can't.
Resolve.
It still exists. You just can't resolve it apart from other things that you're seeing around it.
But you literally can see it.
It doesn't make it invisible.
It's clear. You can see it clearly, can you not?
No, I can't see it clearly.
Well, I can see the Tycho crater clearly with my eyes standing outside here. But we don't have much light pollution, so it's easy to see the moon. But the point is, it's below what you're supposed to be resolvable, and yet we can see it. So therefore, it's definitely not 253,000 miles away.
And your brain gets extra context from the ejecta around it. So you can see where it was. You just can't resolve boulders in it or something like that. So that tells me I gave him all the information he needs to understand, but he just decided not to.
Yeah. He literally said that, didn't he? That that resolution is like if you can't resolve it, you can't see it. Is that what he said?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's crap. I mean, there's still light coming from the crater to your eyes, but whether you can make it out, it's resolution. They're different things.
That's what I said to him. It doesn't, because you can't resolve it, it doesn't make it invisible.
Yeah, exactly.
It just means you can't distinguish it from the things around it. So, so he doesn't know what resolve means, even though he asked me if I didn't knew that.
Yes.
So there's a difference between being able to resolve and being able to see. That's the point I'm making. And he's stumped. Anyway, what was the next question? So I guess that leads in somewhat a segue. How far up are the sun and moon?
That's also no idea. Not going to
No
make
idea?
claims about that. Although you do
I really respect that.
You do get flat earthers that do claim 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a claim on that because I don't know.
Yeah, and you've got no way of verifying.
No.
And
But
I
you
really
guys-
respect that.
but
I
you
really
guys-
respect that because most flat earthers will just give you an answer to sort of prove that they know more or something like that, even though that by doing so they prove that they don't know more.
No, I definitely wouldn't know.
Yeah, good. I appreciate that. What keeps them up in the sky though?
Well, I wouldn't be keeping up with the sky.
Well,
I mean-
everything else falls, so why would they stay in the sky magically?
Yeah, weird, eh? Literally, like if we see rocks fall, it falls to the ground. But you guys claim like the moon is a rock. Why is it not falling to the ground? Goes against every
This
inch
reason.
of
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
I love it. That's interesting. That I've never played that sped up a bit before, and it actually comes across more effective. I think.
Yeah,
I
pretty good.
might do that personally in future videos. Anyway, what else does Flatzoid say?
I'm not gonna bring it up. Yeah, but that's the thing. The gravity for your moon and literally is just based on belief. It's not demonstrated. You can't demonstrate rocks floating around in the sky.
But it's not floating.
It's orbiting.
falling.
Yeah, but that's a set. It's your belief that it's falling.
No, we measured it.
Demonstrate it. No, you believe it's falling.
No, we measured it.
How do you measure it falling?
You measure its angular velocity
Based on what? On radius.
by observation.
But with a radius. Kepler's third law radius. It's based on Kepler's third law, correct?
Yeah, probably.
So radius.
Yeah, I wasn't remembering what Kepler's third law was at this point, so I was. This is the frustrating thing. They read things in a book, don't understand them, but they bring them up as weapons because most people who don't use them all the time. I mean, how many people do planetary mechanics in their job, and then they feel that they've got to win as a result. Oh, I caught you eating.
That's the whole reason why the black swan took the radius away, so you can't actually claim Kepler's third
It didn't. We went through that earlier anyway. We won't re-walk that ground. I've got a super chat from Stringy News 1 for $2. Thank you, Stringy News 1. How far is Uranus?
law.
Is it a Hugh Uranus?
Depends who he's talking to.
Actually, pause 1 second.
Everything on me is far away. Yep.
We know that the stars are far away because the geometry of celestial navigation relies on it. We know that the moon is quite close, relatively speaking. In celestial navigation, there's a thing called horizontal parallax that applies to the moon, applies to Mars, and applies to Venus. Those are the only 3 objects that we need to make adjustments for in celestial navigation. The moon, because it's super close, you make a big adjustment up to like an arc minute, I think, or a degree or arc minute. A degree, I think it's a degree. Yeah. You make up to a degree adjustment to your angle for the moon because it has parallax, right? And then there's Mars and Venus, which have really tiny parallax values. So yeah, that is a decent enough proofsies for why the stars are far away, and to show that the moon is relatively close and Mars and Venus are also reasonably close. Yeah.
Relatively, at least. Yeah.
Relatively, yeah. I mean, the horizontal parallax figures for Mars and Venus are like an arc minute or something. So, yeah. But yes, it is a degree for the moon. Yeah.
Yes. Gary's also refusing to understand what we were talking about resolution and visibility.
Of course. Yeah.
But anyway, and what a surprise. Away from me.
I have to say, I'm really enjoying chatting to you. It's nice and chill. It's not like heated.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's fun to watch. But to me, I sort of enjoy exploring the personality more than anything else.
Yeah.
There are some people I wouldn't want to talk to because they're not very nice people. Are you saying you can demonstrate the moon is floating in water?
Yeah, you can take a golf ball or take something that's got a bit of buoyancy and it floats. It can move in a current of water. There we go. Can
The moon's not a golf ball.
But we can demonstrate. That's what I'm saying. You guys can't demonstrate any of your claims. We can actually go and demonstrate.
We only have them because we have demonstrated them.
Where? You guys are making claims about
All of
them.
science.
There is no science for the globe, by the way.
That's your belief. And here we are, full circle.
Where's the hypothesis for your globe?
Measurements.
Measurements is not hypothesis.
Yeah, he gets into sort of really weird ground here. I think he sort of felt a bit cornered somewhat and went a bit all Oakley.
Yes. He's an Oakley parrot, yes. Yeah.
Where's your hypothesis for the globe? Well, the hypothesis is there is a globe, that the Earth is has the shape of the globe. That's the hypothesis.
You don't actually need justification for a hypothesis. I mean,
Yeah.
supposedly the first step is notice
something in nature. Yeah.
Something in nature. Yeah, fine. The sun sets, right? My hypothesis is that the Earth is a rotating globe. Yeah, that's fine. And then design an experiment, run your experiment. Yeah, like one of my favorite experiments. So yeah, hypothesis is the Earth is a rotating globe. A necessary consequence of a rotating globe is that there's centrifugal force. I will design an experiment to detect that centrifugal force, and that's critical thinks weight change with latitude. Excellent correlation between latitude and the weight of an object.
Yeah, and he's repeating an experiment that Wolfie did as well.
Which one?
So yeah, they're really good experiments. I was actually going to do it as well, but the trip I was going to do got cancelled because of COVID. So I must I've got that scale there somewhere. I must find that and do that. So I'm going to skip a bit ahead because discussion was about the scientific method, and he didn't understand it. He didn't understand that you can't just, the hypothesis can be anything, but the experiment to test it can't be just anything. You've got to have some rigor about that, and it's got to design it so that it will actually test the thing that you're trying to test your hypothesis, rather than just whatever you feel like doing. Yeah, which is what he did with that paint can thing.
Yeah, he's an Oakley parrot, right? Or a QE, a QE parrot, really. Those guys conflate the hypothesis as the cause and effect in the experiment. Like that's incorrect. The hypothesis is entirely separate to the experiment. The independent variable in your experiment is not the cause in your hypothesis. It's just a way to test your hypothesis. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Let's see if we can jump ahead because that was rather boring.
I've got like
that I'm also mindful you don't have much time. There's one thing I particularly want to get to, and because his responses were quite interesting.
Cool.
Design an experiment and do it, because how can you be certain that experiment is valid? It will actually get you an indisputable result. You need to run that past other people and get them. Right, so that's one of the things that flat earthers fail a lot at. They just do an experiment because they think it's the right thing to do, but often you're missing something because we're human. We make mistakes. So that's why scientists will always get their experiment peer reviewed before they do it.
No, they do the experiment, then it goes for peer review, because the peer review comes afterwards, because they have to go.
There's peer review of the results as well, but
they have
if
to go
you're
and prove your
a working
experiment.
scientist like I've been, you get your colleagues to check your experiment because you don't want to waste time and money.
Yeah, they go and they try and disprove your hypothesis that has already gone through experiment.
Yeah, he didn't quite get what I was getting at here. I was saying the experiment needs to be peer reviewed. You've got to take it to people who know what they're doing so that they can confirm for you that the experiment will deliver the results that you're looking for.
Or testing what you think is,
Yes, it would be a valid test is probably a better way of putting it. I'm hoping if the experiment delivers a result I'm not looking for, I want to know that too. So I used the wrong words there. But he seemed to be confused, that peer review of the experiment with the peer review of the results. And even though I made the point, that's not what I'm talking about. So anyway, it was hard to get him off that. We'll skip ahead a little bit.
Then it's just a declaration.
Well, let's do another experiment. I presume you've travelled. I have too. Wherever I go on Earth, the same face of the moon points to me.
Yeah.
How is that the case if it's close?
Because it's a face. A face cannot happen on a sphere. You don't have faces on a sphere. And
but we can see that it's
perspective. It's based on I've actually done the demonstration. You can literally go and make a flat moon. If you want to print it out, stick it on your ceiling, and you can walk away, and you're going to be able to have it showing an opposite. That's why you get the stars seeming to rotate counterclockwise to clockwise.
Jesus Christ, that's all.
Basically, he thinks the moon is flat.
Yeah, it's a disc, basically. Why doesn't it look oval shaped?
He answers that, not very well, but he answers it. Okay. So have a listen.
Depending on your position when you view it. All just perspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Why has no government accepted flat Earth as reality?
Oh, you must have said it earlier, because I remember discussing it with him. He basically said it was the craters showing 3D like a sphere. That's just perspective.
Oh, fuck. I saw a video the other day. Someone claimed that they saw, I think it was Mars through the moon, right? And all it was close to the terminator line of the phase of the moon was a mountain. And I even went and identified the mountain for him and showed him, like, this is the mountain that you're seeing lit up by the sun just past the terminator line because it's higher than the surrounding ground. Yeah. Jesus. Google Moon's pretty cool.
It is, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going because you're short on time. What governments are always at each other's throats? Why would they all say the Earth is a globe?
It's weird how they're all at each other's throats, but they work together with space travel and Antarctica. But yeah, I can't divine their thoughts, but I can tell you because we've been indoctrinated from a young age to believe it, obviously they're going to carry on with it. If you believe it enough, you're not going to know that you're lying. You're just going to carry on perpetuating the lie without knowing.
And this is where I got out the projector. I knew he was just projecting.
Yeah.
Let's jump ahead a bit. 24 degrees when I started at 5 o'clock in the morning, so that's pretty warm.
Yeah, we're sitting with a heat wave at the moment, so I think it was like 42 degrees right today.
But it's a dry heat where you are, isn't it?
No, it's humid, dry. Yeah.
No, 40 degrees and humid. It's almost impossible.
Damn humid, yeah.
Here we go. I'll zoom in a
There
little.
we go.
Yeah, right now we're sitting at 25 degrees with 42% humidity. Oh yeah, the other app, yeah.
Yeah, so theodolite that.
Sorry,
So
did you say theodolite?
You can see I've got it almost there, 0.1 of a degree off on the right-hand side, but it's about as close a level as you can get. I'm looking towards the ocean here. In fact, if this was a better camera, you'd see the city of Brisbane pretty much near the crosshairs there. And you can look up the lat long so you can see where I'm looking from. So there's no reason why, if the Earth was flat, the horizon should be at the the horizontal crossbar.
No, that's false.
This demonstrates that the Earth curves away from us.
False. It can be explained. You see that crosshair on the camera? It's called, you would understand it's infinite. It's not going to be confounded with everything in the distance. Everything in the distance, the further it goes away, it's changing in angular size. It's converging to the convergence. It's going through more air to see, going through more dust, water vapor, so forth, and refraction obviously further away and whatever. And that's what causes it to have that apparent drop. I've even shown
Wouldn't that go both ways? Wouldn't the clouds be sort of curving away up to the top?
I've even shown the same effect with a cheese grater on a flat surface.
You
Right,
just claimed their refraction causes it to drop. That's the opposite. Our density gradient in the atmosphere is more dense at the surface, less dense higher up. Light bends towards the denser gradient, so it bends down, which raises the apparent position of objects. On a flat Earth, the horizon should be above our level.
That's the bit that makes them confused. That it bends the light down, but it raises the horizon. They can't connect those two concepts. But if they just draw it on a piece of paper and sort of, okay, light's coming from here, instead of going out into space, it bends down, then you'll get the idea. You're seeing more over the horizon.
Yeah, which direction do I see this bent light coming from if I was to project out that line?
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. If it was refraction, the horizon would be above the crosshairs.
Yeah, it'd be always fuzzy, like it would always fade out into nothing, and it would be above eye level.
And I made the point that if it's bending away from the center line to make it below eye level there, these clouds should be bending away in some way. You should be seeing that effect to up because, it'll be equal on either side of the crosshair. But that's not what's happening.
Yes.
Anyway.
Continue.
Not sure. So then we got into boats over the horizon.
Last time when you took two theodolites, auto levels, when you place
theodolites, is it again?
The lake and the other one on the other side, and it says, look, you see it's dropping below it. But that's exactly what I'm saying. It changes in angular size. The whole thing changes angular size as it moves away. But the crosshair is infinite. It goes straight through the plane infinitely. It doesn't go and converge to anything. Yeah,
exactly. This is the word. This one. There's no convergence. I've seen this personally. Not just a photo, but I've seen the effect of a ship being over the horizon.
Refraction.
And it wasn't just waves or anything like that. It was just it was like this.
Refraction.
Refraction wouldn't take away the bottom of the boat.
Yes, it does.
Refraction would distort it.
Refraction can lift up the horizon and push down
the boat.
And we can literally show this with just like I was explaining to you with that sun video where we're going and the paint films were blocking it. It's the same thing. If you've got a wave that's in the front and the refraction is pulling that angle, it's going to give this outline.
Refraction will lift up everything on the horizon, including the boat.
Now, I'm going to quickly get you some demonstrations showing on flat surfaces that it pulls it down. Let's go free. And if I can find the channel now, there we go.
Is he just about to show a inferior mirage?
Use.
I don't remember right now, but we'll see in a sec, I guess.
Inferior mirages can hide things.
Yeah, the thing is, because we can literally demonstrate the stuff. Let's see, present.
But you've got an inferior mirage.
Yeah.
So
There we go. Okay. Like this thing. This boat
Oh,
is
yes,
literally
you're
on
right.
a
Okay,
lake.
I've got to add it to this.
Yes, you're right. It's an inferior mirage coming up.
yeah. Yeah, so because, how can I describe this? If you have a flat surface like that, and the light is bending upwards like that, then over here, where that's under the curve, there's no light coming from this location that meets your eye, right? So it can hide things bottom up, but if it does, you have an inferior mirage that you can see. So it's not an explanation for any observation where there's stuff missing without an inferior mirage.
Yeah. Well, it goes through that, so let's watch on. Continue on.
Cool.
Hang on, I'll put it back. I put your full screen so
Yes, I can do that.
See your hand moving. Yeah, it's a bit tiny otherwise.
Yeah, no, it's just hard to draw. Oh, I can draw it easily, but I can't do it.
It's not, there's no earth curve at all. It's literally on a lake that's supposed to have no curve. But yet you're going to see the same effects. It's all because of the refraction. But I'm going to show you now.
My main confusion about this is, what the hell am I looking at here? You know, it was so
Waves.
fuzzy and yeah.
That's water. Like he mentioned waves before, and I'm like, why hasn't he mentioned them here? Like the camera's right on the surface.
Yeah, or a little bit below even.
Possibly. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. It's hard to tell. It's such a bad picture.
Maybe I'll have to download it. Bufferings.
If you can drop a link in the chat so people can look at it later,
Oh, yeah, for
that'd
sure.
be helpful. Yeah.
Probably in my chat as well. Buffering, come on.
Daryl
Somebody
M.
does this.
Daryl M says the only
I'm
demonstration
not going to be able to go on much
that
longer,
matches
though.
the hole in the boat.
Now, I was going to say, the pig farms I own have slaughtered a whole herd of pigs for my morning bacon, so that'll be good
nice.
soon.
Nice, delicious. Yes, and I love bacon. Who does not love bacon? Okay, I'm just downloading it. I think that's going to be the best.
You know what I should have said to that? I said, no, the bacon's all mine.
It's going to be easier to see because I don't know why it is with me. Oh, they're just showing. You can see this demonstration with the floor. It's on a flat surface in the kitchen, on their wooden floor, whatever. And they're going to give it yeah, they show it on flat. All their demonstrations they do flat surfaces.
Yes, but do they measure it flat?
Yeah.
Part of the scientific method.
How flat? How
Yeah.
flat is it? It's like Oakley when he did that demonstration. He put a book like 10 yards away, and then the camera rises, and you see the floor just like this. It's like
And that's why I was making the point, because flat Earthers just assume it's flat because it's a man-made floor. But you know, it's wood for a start. And as he said, he lives in a humid area, so it could warp. You need to measure it flat before you can be certain that you're actually getting good results. But the resolution of these cameras doesn't help.
Yeah, mathematical modeling is superior to physical modeling for like 99% of use cases. Yeah.
The sort of variables.
That's not claimed to be science. It's a demonstration, not an experiment. But they're
Well,
showing
science,
you
why are we looking at it?
because it's not claimed.
Well, your own
Make it you want to do. Okay, let's change it to the hypothesis then.
No, I'm just giving your own standards back to you.
Refraction causes the earth, the ground, to bring the horizon up and pull the image down. They go and do the
that's the thing I
experiment.
want to say,
They give refraction, and therefore it does it. Okay, I'm going to stop the sharing. And I'm going to quickly screen share the video itself. Okay, let's see. It might be easier to do it this way. Gotta pause it. Okay. Where's Gmail? Okay. Present video file. Observations. I hope it's showing. Okay, can't share it like that. Why not? Share screen. Window. Ah, there we go. Media player. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah, we can. Yep.
Okay.
So this is a bit blurry. What am I looking at?
This is a RC boat on a lake where there's supposed to be no. That was just the intro. But there's an RC boat on the lake. There's supposed to be no curve, and it gives that. You see how the refraction pulls the things below the floor.
That's just moving the camera.
You're going to see now. They literally explain it. Because when they add refraction to it, it pulls the items down and pulls up the floor in front of it. And that's exactly what you see with that boat behind the water. It's not on the curved surface. They're showing you from here, they can see it 100%.
Well, it measures the distance, but it doesn't measure the flatness for a start.
You'll see now. But you'll see now, they're going to show it from where they are, can see everything from top to bottom. And then as soon as they add the refraction into there, you know, and then it's going to be pulled and changed, distort, as you would see. There you go. You can see everything, correct? There, that tuck is, you can see it. That's level ground. It's sitting. You can see it right to the bottom, even the reflection on the floor. Now they're adding the refraction, and you're going to see it change. There we go. See what happened? That's exactly what you see with that boat of yours. It pulled the horizon up.
It's inferior
Some-
mirage. Oh,
down.
I'm not going to call that a
All
horizon.
the
Holy shit. It's just blurry shit.
Yeah, I couldn't really see if there was any value in this. He said add refraction. I think he explains it later, so let's have a listen.
Oh,
The
I just
opposite of
read
what no claims. So every
I
time you
saw
go, yeah,
I saw the floor rising up. Giving they were blowing hot air on it. I don't understand what I'm looking at.
they're adding the cold air over the hot surface, and that gives the refraction.
Yeah, it gives you an inferior mirage. Well done.
Okay, there's an experiment I can do for myself.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, this explains that image that you are claiming to be Earth curve. Now, the difference with you guys, you would have to go and actually demonstrate them. We can demonstrate to have the same effects.
I think what this demonstrates is that flerfs don't really know how to do demonstrations. That there's so many things you could change on this to make it a little bit more convincing, because it's blurry, it's hard to see, you're not really sure what's going on, and that's meant to be convincing, you know.
Yeah, 100% just an inferior mirage. And yes, inferior mirages can hide things because there's a like a vanishing area, I guess you'd call it, where there's no path for the light to reach your eye. So yeah, do observations without inferior mirages.
So that's pretty much the whole live stream. I think we just said our goodbyes after that.
Okay, cool. Yep.
So parting thoughts, I guess. What do you think in general about what you've seen today?
Flatzoid talks a lot of smack about stuff that he claims to know but cannot demonstrate that he knows. So he can't apply this limited angle, he can't apply this perspective, and you know, like most flerfs, he's a
So standard flerfing,
standard flerfing, yeah. Doesn't understand what he's talking about, can't apply it.
But he's absolutely certain that he does, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's what makes him so hilarious, to be honest.
Yeah. But
yeah, it was nice to have a chat with him. It was nice to have a non-confrontational sort of chat.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that, to be honest. But even the ones that where FTFE or MC Toon have, and they say they're not going to be confrontational, they sort of end up getting them angry.
Yeah, FTFE definitely.
And that's what their channel's based on. So you know, I'm not knocking that in any way. I just thought it'd be interesting to do it in a more chill way, as Flatzoid was describing it.
Yeah. Flatzoid's not a bad guy, but there's something in his head that prevents him, you know, from engaging with the topic honestly in flat Earth in particular. Yeah.
You can tell he's sort of I hate to use the word brainwash, but he's obviously under the influence of others, put it that way.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this objectively, you don't come to these conclusions.
Exactly.
And you've got to demonstrate your objectiveness, of course, and that's what he hasn't done, especially with this experiment we just looked at. There's so many things you could do better in this experiment, but without disrespecting spray painters, he's a spray painter, not a scientist. He doesn't understand the rigor that's required to get to a point where if science says, yes, this is what we think is the truth most of the time. And it's outside its experience, so he can't even comprehend it. So, am I hearing trucks on your end or my end?
Trucks.
Must be on my end.
Not mine. I'm playing with my, remember those pens?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Nerd pen.
How good are they? Yeah. I bought a stack the other day. Yeah. No, FTFE, I think, is currently in the Cosmology Tartaria Discord.
That's always good.
Yelling at flerfs. Yeah, is this correct? It's your first conversation with a flerf?
Yes. Yeah, one-to-one.
Okay. Yeah, come into Discord. Come into Discord. It's fantastic.
I'm not really interested in that, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm more interested in the characters.
Okay. Well, good.
As Jeebus said, the counter-argument to what we're saying about Flatzoid is the missing frames show that Flatzoid is a dishonest shit saying.
Yeah.
And Flatzoid says, now I saw someone challenge him on that, and he said, well, that's what proves flat Earth, which I thought was interesting. He didn't really explain how, but...
I can post a link in the chat, can't I? For that mods.
If you want to, yeah.
Because it's not my Discord, but it's pretty good.
That's Shane's, isn't it?
Yeah, Shane St. Pierre.
Yeah. Yes.
Discord
I reckon he's a long-lost member of the Jarsz family.
He's a big dude.
Look about him.
Yeah. But he's a good guy as well.
Yeah.
But again, just brainwashed into flat Earth.
I think he's a little bit more honest.
Yeah.
He doesn't go around claiming things that he can't demonstrate, really.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't do experiments that are clearly flawed. Sounds like the family's coming. I'll let you go. All right. Thanks very much for being on the show.
All good. All right. Catch you later, everyone. Thanks, you.
All right, folks. That's pretty much it. I think we've gone through the video and had a look at it, and I think I've explained points a bit clearer and what I was trying to achieve, at least with this. It was all fascinating and an interesting experience talking to a flat earther. And Flatzoid said he wants to come on again, and we'll get Wolfie and Professor Bell in for that one too, I think. He said Flatzoid said he wanted other people to come at the end of the stream. Maybe I should play that to prove it. Oh, you just look up the stream. So that's it for tonight. Well, it's morning for me. Thank you very much to all my members in particular, but to everyone who's in the chat, even the Gary bot. And sorry, Wally couldn't join us. We'll figure out something for next time. And I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time. And I think that's just about everything.
There's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.